I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams how hard and how life-changing it was going to be. I fell in love with digital marketing and I was good at it.
Mark Wright, founder of Climb Online and the winner of the Apprentice a decade ago.
When I've done some consulting, what I found is it doesn't matter which country I go to, which industry I work with, which entrepreneur's business I go into, the issues are all the same. I did an unconventional funding route, which was to go on The Apprentice, but I didn't realize how many hundreds of thousands of people try out for that show and what a lottery it is to get on. And what a lottery it is to, go all the way and win it. And then that was the easy part. Then working with Lord Sugar for 8 years is no walk in the park, let me tell you.
Welcome to Foundermetrics by Vested, the podcast where we dive into the world of hotshot business leaders and the specific metrics, not just the usual KPIs, that drive their game-changing companies forward. I'm your host, Ifti Nasser, CEO and founder of Vested, and I'm excited to take you on this journey with me into the world of successful founders. Great to have you on the show. Great to get a little intro from your perspective rather than what we can all find online.
Oh, Ifti, it's great to be with you. Thank you for the invitation. I love what you guys are doing at Vested, and I am so passionate about helping startups because what I didn't realize when I started my first business, I didn't know what a startup was, but I didn't appreciate how hard and how lonely that journey was going to be for so long. And we all know the statistics about how many businesses go on and fail. And we need to help each other. We need to help other entrepreneurs, business owners, particularly in the startup community, because once you get over that hurdle of the first few years, the trajectory of success really takes off from that point. So if you can get the right people and the right knowledge through platforms like yours, the journey gets a whole lot easier. But to look at myself, I'm speaking tonight from Australia, my home country, and most people will know me in the UK from being Lord Sugar's business partner, winning The Apprentice in 2014, being listed on Forbes in Europe. And the founder and CEO of Climb Online, which I came over as a backpacker in 2012. I started Climb Online. I took it to over a £10 million valuation, and I exited that company as the first apprentice winner to do a third-party exit. And as the press say, the most successful apprentice winner, not my words, theirs. But yeah, it's great to be with you, and I love doing stuff back in the UK. For me, my heart is always in the UK. I absolutely love it there, and I love the business community there as well.
Well, thanks again, Mark. Let's just jump back to that thing that everybody knows you for, which is winning the Apprentice. When you joined, I saw the promo video that you have to do. You were very, very confident, shall we say. How was it in reality?
Well, I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams how hard and how life-changing it was going to be. When I first went to the tryouts, there were 75,000 people there. And I didn't appreciate the scale. We didn't have The Apprentice in Australia. I didn't know who Lord Sugar was. So it was all new to me. And I think that really went in my favor because I was authentic to myself. I wasn't trying to be a contestant from the years been or try and take on a demeanor of somebody I wasn't. I was authentic to myself. I was true to myself. And I just took each level of the tryouts and the process as it came. And I think being Australian helped me because I sounded and looked a bit different from everyone else. And that I've always embraced is, just being a bit different, being a bit of a wild card. And I think people are attracted to that different element. And I'm a good salesman. And I think The Apprentice always unfairly favors good salesmen and women. And I used it to my strength to go as far as I did. And I was on Series 10, which had 20 contestants. So I say statistically, it makes me the greatest of all time. And then as we know, I went on and became Lord Sugar's business partner. He invested £250,000 into my company, which I founded with him. We worked together for 8.5 years in that. And what I found was when I won The Apprentice, I was living in a house with 11 people. I was like Harry Potter living under the stairs. And when I won the Apprentice, if you asked me, would you take £250,000 or mentorship from Alan Sugar, I would have taken the money because I'd never seen £250,000 before. You ask me now as a 34-year-old man that owns multiple businesses and has started, failed, and succeeded across multiple industries. £250,000 to me now is not a lot of money at all, but the mentorship and the guidance and the knowledge I got from Lord Sugar's experience was the gold. That was the point of going on to that program, and I'd do it all again to get the network and the lessons I got from that relationship.
Yeah, no, I just see even in that promo that I re-watched of yours, because I did actually watch the original series you're on as well. But even in that message, you realise there that what you're looking for is Lord Sugar.
Oh, 100.
Part of the thing, but it's really around Lord Sugar. But the exit last year gave you now the opportunity to actually have the resources and the experience to invest in others. So you said you're an investor in several businesses. How many businesses have you put money on the table for? And I'm guessing some will be flying, some will be not quite so flying. Give us the truth.
They say if you invest in 10 startups, 7 will fail, 1 will do okay, 1 or 2 will do okay, and 1 or 2 will fly. So that works about right with my portfolio as well. Currently, I own 7 companies, which I invest in, mentor, and all of that sort of stuff. From various different industries: PR, property, aviation, marketing, all of those, and above, machinery, agriculture. And what I found is there's no industry I'm particularly akin to. I'm known for marketing, but more than anything, I love business. And the more experienced I've got, and when I've done some consulting, what I found is it doesn't matter which country I go to, which industry I work with, which entrepreneur's business I go into, the issues are all the same. And generally, when I go into work in a business which is struggling, there's an entrepreneur or a business owner that's scared to take help. There's a knowledge problem and there's a personnel problem. They just don't know something, but they're scared to ask for that help. And pretty much 9 times out of 10, they're the same issues that are happening in other companies, but those companies have just found the right people to come in and fix it.
All right. Let's go. Let's start back with Climb Online and the journey there. How did it actually start?
Well, like most entrepreneurs, I've always wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to be a business owner, but I didn't know in what industry, in what business. I sort of knew I wanted to be a business owner, but I just tried so many things that didn't work. I worked in sports shops, restaurants, all of this stuff, and I sort of hated every job that I came across. And I was working as a personal trainer, and I got offered the job as the sales and marketing manager for the place where I did my personal training certificate. And the college was doing really poorly. I think in my first month working there, they got $2,000 Australian dollars in sales, and it was going bankrupt. And the owner and I were sort of thinking about ways to grow the company and get more sales. And I was asking him what he was doing for marketing. He was in the yellow pages. It wasn't working, all of this stuff. And I was like, you need to get on Google. Everyone goes on Google, searches on Google. You know, that's going to be the future. And he's like, well, I don't know anything about that. So I taught myself Google Ads and WordPress websites. And basically, I got the college ranking #1 for the word personal training course. Anyway, in 3 months, the college went from $2,000 a month in sales to $240,000 a month in sales. And that was the light bulb moment. I was like, this was the first time in my life, I was about 20 at this point, that I was really good at something, that I enjoyed something. And when I was working, I wasn't looking at the clock. So that's when it was sort of like that moment of, I found the right career path here. And that's when I got into digital.
Yeah. And not looking at the clock means you're loving what you were doing.
This is it. Because every time before that, I'm looking, I can't wait for the weekend. I can't wait to go out with my friends. I wasn't engaged in my career. I thought work was work. It felt like work. When I found digital marketing, it felt like sport. It was just enjoyable. I was good at it. And, I think particularly a lot of young people, they don't try enough things. Any advice I can give to young entrepreneurs is try lots, fail fast, try lots of different things, and you'll find something that you love and that you're really good at. And the world deserves that, because you're probably better than everyone at something, and it's just trying enough things to find that one thing. So all to say, I fell in love with digital marketing and I was good at it. I went backpacking and I was living in the UK, and I was working at one of the biggest digital marketing agencies in the UK.
Who was that?
I'm not going to say their name because I'm not a big fan of theirs. I really disagreed with the way they treated their staff and their customers. So I knew I didn't like my boss, but I loved my industry. So what did I do? I put together a business plan for what I thought would be a great digital marketing company, and I took it to 4 banks in the UK. But because I'm from Australia, I couldn't get a new business loan. I had no track record. I had no credit rating, no credit history. So I did an unconventional funding route, which was to go on the Apprentice. And if a bank wasn't going to give it to me, I thought Alan Sugar might. But I didn't realize how many hundreds of thousands of people try out for that show, and what a lottery it is to get on. And what a lottery it is to, go all the way and win it. And then that was the easy part. Then working with Lord Sugar for 8 years is no walk in the park, let me tell you.
I don't know how many of the secrets you can give, but I mean, because I don't know if you know, but The Apprentice is on in the UK right now. We're about halfway through. It's a really interesting bunch of folks, some really, really strong characters from very diverse backgrounds, so very impressive. But, how did it feel? So firstly, when you're actually on the show and there's that early morning call, are people really going to get up and get ready in 20 minutes?
Do you know, out of all the things I've done in my career, the 2 questions I get asked the most is, when the phone rings in the morning, do you really have 20 minutes to get ready? And what's Lord Sugar like? And it doesn't matter where I go in the world, they're still the top questions. And the truth is, we only get 20 minutes to get ready. And generally what happens is that phone rings about 4 a.m. in the morning. And to preempt that, you really only do have 20 minutes or you get left behind. So the guys, it's a bit easy. You just sort of put on your suit and you're out the door. The ladies get up around midnight, 1 o'clock, and put their makeup on and lay back in bed with their makeup on. So it's not staged. It's 100% how it goes. And I still keep a watchful eye on The Apprentice. I mean, it changed my life. I love the show. One of my friends, Raj, is on there this year. I keep a close eye always, because we have a close-knit group of the winners that go on to win the show. We have a WhatsApp group together. We generally catch up for a lunch or a dinner all together once a year, no matter what's going on. So it's a very special experience that only very few people have done. So it's nice to keep a community to have that, that element of your life with.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a unique journey, and the journey thereafter, I'm guessing, is, as you said, just a starting point. It's a massive transformation of life. But you said working with Alan Sugar was, or Lord Sugar, was difficult. You want to tell us a little bit more about why that is? Because, I mean, you talked about getting the wisdom, the knowledge, etc. But did he push you particularly hard? Did he force you down alleys that you weren't comfortable to go from a business perspective? What was it about it that made it tough?
His brand of mentoring is old school, and he pushes you right to the absolute precipice of what you're capable of doing, of what you're capable of achieving. He'll find out how much is in you and if you've got what it takes. And if you look at how many people have won the show, there's not that many that have actually made it. No one sold their business except me. Not many people have had successful stories off the back of it. And that's not to say Alan Sugar's not a good mentor. That's to show you how tough setting up and starting a business is. And here's a guy that, 60 years ago was living in a council flat in Hackney in East London. And he starts a business and scales up and becomes one of the richest, most famous entrepreneurs that the UK has ever seen. It's not bad. So his expectation level of himself is very high. His expectation level of the people around him is at the same level, maybe slightly less than what he expects of himself. And he holds everyone to this incredibly high standard. His work ethic is sickening, and his ability to push you is frightening, and he'll get the most out of you, or he'll get the most of what you're capable out of you. And it's not for everyone. You have to have a thick skin. You have to have a robust personality and be able to take very direct feedback. And he made me, I was a good businessman when I met him, let's say. I was a very raw, fresh, young guy. He made me a great businessman after sort of 9 years. And no matter what happened in between, I'm very thankful for that.
Were there times, I'm not going to guess, but were there times in there that you felt this just not for me, I just want to walk? Or was it always took you to, as you put it, took you to the precipice, but didn't actually quite give you the freedom to fall off?
There was times where I thought we'd gone past the too far edge with one another. We pushed each other so hard on what we visions for the business, decisions that we wanted to make, expenditure in the business, and we challenged each other at a board level viciously, I would say, viciously. And he's got a very similar personality to mine, where, you know, a few swear words and a few robust conversations, which isn't for everyone, particularly nowadays. But we would sometimes have objects flying across the room. We would sometimes have swear words flying across the room. And it was all in good sport. And I think he loved it as much as I did. And even looking back at it now, I'm going to write the most fantastic book one day.
Well, he certainly gave you a good write-up at the exit. After the exit, when in the news, he was very impressed with you.
I made him millions of pounds. I made him millions and millions of pounds. And if it's not bad off 200 grand, 250,000 he made plenty of dividends. He made a fortune off me. And he deserves it because he invested in me. So, fine. But I'm worried about this new generation or the new breed of business owner, because it's just as bad here in Australia as it is in the UK. This whole do less woke mindset. I don't know how any of them could work with Lord Sugar. They wouldn't last 5 seconds, let alone 5 years or enough to be successful. Because the biggest lesson I got from him was to make money and to be successful, you need to have a great work ethic. You need to be an expert at what you do, and you need to be tough. You need to be resilient, because a startup business is crazy hard, and you will quit before the business does. And most people's, in Companies House, there's a lot of businesses that are closed down now where they were good businesses, but the entrepreneur gave up before the business did.
That's a really, really interesting insight. I guess I sort of knew that, but you just put it so clearly. So that resilience is clearly something that you need to have in buckets before you even contemplate starting, otherwise you're not even going to get very far at all.
Well, on my third day working for Lord Sugar, his top advisor said to me, pulled me into a side room, and he said, "Mark, if you want to be successful at starting a company, you need to have a rhinoceros skin." He said, above all else, before accounting knowledge, legal knowledge, industry expertise, you need to be resilient and have thick skin to survive the 2 or 3 years it's going to take to make this business successful. And I was like, at the time, I was like, what's he talking about? A rhinoceros skin? What a strange thing. And then after that fact, I looked back and thought, what a great piece of advice.
And that rhinoceros skin, who is it for? Is it for your investors? Is it for your team? Is it for the market? Is it the publicity? Where did you feel that tough skin coming into its most use?
It was a bit of a mixture of all of them, to be honest, because I felt very on my own, very lonely and isolated. I had my investors and the board, who, let's say, are above me. I had my employees and staff who I was managing, who I couldn't really be too open with. I had the press and the audience of The Apprentice, who, let's face it, wanted me to fail because that would make a great story. He's not such a great businessman after all. So you've got all of these stakeholders around you, and they're not on your level. You're sort of somewhere in the middle of all of it, and it's a very tough, lonely, self-sacrificing journey. it wreaks havoc on you both mentally and physically to get to that where you need it to go. And I think when I look at another entrepreneur, I can tell if they've done a startup or not just by looking in their eyes, because I can see the pain.
It's real. To the pain and the journey itself. Yeah, obviously, part of what we're trying to do with Foundermetrics is give some insights, sharing some wisdom, for want of a better phrase, around the journey, our own individual journeys. And for you, yeah, you'll have had all the normal metrics that you'd have had to present to the board in terms of cash flows, balance sheets, P&Ls, etc., maybe even EBITDA and the rest of it. But what was it that helped you understand that it may have changed over time, that the business was on the right track, or indeed that it wasn't on the right track and you needed to take some intervention? What were the dials, what were the metrics that you were looking at that really helped you?
That's a great question, because any average piece of accounting software now can tell you the EBITDA, the cash flow, the projections, just by a press of a button. What it can't do is create a vision for the company. What it can't do is motivate and lead a team. What it can't do is inspire your customers or innovate products. And what I learned as I went is the most important pieces of a business are the culture that you create with the people you hire, and how many, if you walk up to any of my employees, do they know where this company's going to be in 5 years? Do they know the values of this company? Are we all on the same page? And when I was young, I didn't even know that stuff. I didn't even know what all of that meant. But as you get bigger and as you get into tens and 20s and hundreds of employees, I don't know people in certain teams and offices as the CEO. So having everyone on the same page got harder and harder and harder. So just by having the visions, the town halls, the communication, the motivational sessions, it 10x the growth of the company and was more important than any P&L and cash flow forecast ever. So it was sitting down and making sure I had the right people in the team around me, that I was getting good advice, but that everyone in the company was aligned with who we were as a business.
Yeah. And in terms of the employee sharing, at what stage did you find that it changed materially, the different scales of employees? So when you exited, or when you took your lion's share out, what was the scale of the business at that stage in terms of
we
employees?
had 130 people at that point when I sold the majority of my shares, and I was the CEO at that point. And at that point, the business was easier to run than ever. If you step back from that, the hardest point was probably 5 to 30 people. But I knew everyone. I was across all of the customers. I was across the people. I knew who their wives were, what their dog's name was, what their favorite meal was. And that, you lose that element of the business. As I'd say, it gets to 40, 50 people. It gets a bit more, you're not as close to the people, which is a good thing, because you have to make some tough decisions to, take people out and bring better people in as the company goes up the scale up ladder. So, each stage had its various challenges, but the big lessons for me were hire good people, hire great people, pay them well, bring in profit share, give people shares, give people a percentage of skin in the game, as it's referred to, because it's very hard to motivate people on a salary. It's very easy to motivate people when they feel it's their business.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, why? Yeah, I think it's an old culture, and we've certainly worked hard to try and change it. But that notion that, it's just a founder and a few in the C-suite and the investors who should make all the money. Why should any of the team bust a gut for you guys to just get rich at the end of the day? If there's nothing in it for them, I think that mentality, you're spot on, Mark. Absolutely spot on.
Oh, thank you. No, it was a big lesson. And listen, I'd be lying if I said I started that way. These are all things I learned from experiences and losing good people, losing revenue, losing profits. I learned from failing, let's say, and it's all building it back up to think good people cost good money, and good people know what they're worth. And if you want to build a great business, you need to have it full of great people. So you're going to have to pay them what we call funny money, stock shares, or profit share.
Yeah. Now, everybody in the vested team is vested in it, obviously, even those folk who are not within the UK, because we're a fully remote business, Mark. So although we started down in London in Moorgate, we decided to go remote first, as it were, back in 2018, and then decided to go fully remote. Well before COVID, but we went fully remote, and we decided to pull the remaining office that we had at WeWork, and we gave notice 1st of February 2020.
Wow, what great timing to give notice. Was that the WeWork in Moorgate in Bank there?
It is, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, right across from our offices where Climb Online was.
Well, there you go. Those connections go back a long time. So going back to your own journey, and the people piece, really, really valuable. What about the customer and that product market fit? I mean, had you already felt that you'd got that product market fit before you met up with Lord Sugar? You knew sort of what you were doing at that stage, or did you really have to start afresh at that stage with that new partner on board?
Well, not many people know this, but my business plan was, have you heard of GoDaddy? You go on the website, you go on GoDaddy, you can buy a domain, you can build the website, you can SEO it, PPC, social media. My business plan was much to be a rival of GoDaddy. It was going to be a sort of one-stop shop for online assets. And Lord Sugar said to me, you're making the fundamental mistake that all new business owners do. It does too much stuff, does too many things. So out of your GoDaddy, you can pick 3 things. That can be websites, domains, whatever. And I picked SEO, PPC, and social because they were the ones I had the most experience in. And that was my first key lesson: is don't try and be all things to all men. You refine your idea, master a couple of things, and do it better than anyone else. And that was the first big lesson. So that took my business plan from here to here, and it was much more focused, a lot cheaper to get off the ground, and we found profitability and success a lot quicker than huge investment costs and startup costs. Essentially, once we had a website and a couple of people in the team that could do SEO and PPC, we were off and running. And that was the brilliance of my first business plan.
I couldn't echo that more. When we started Vested, we had all sorts of aspirations of what it might be, but focusing in on the 2 or 3 things around that conditional equity when we moved from the marketplace to the SaaS solution, I think that was absolutely key. But now that we've built that reputation within that conditional equity space, as well as being able to help people manage their general equity, being able to do a range of other things around that, but still very much focused on the equity piece is a great learning from our perspective as well.
Definitely. It's one of the key things. Whenever I start a business now, we start in one area or one region. We don't try and sell to the whole world, and we start with 2 or 3 products max. And it's just the way you get profitability. It's the way you gain reputation. The great businessman Andrew Carnegie said, when you start a business, you get one basket and you put all your eggs in that basket. Then when that's full, you're able to diversify and expand your offerings.
So now when you go into business, when you're now an investor, as well as running, and you're also on the board and Climb Online, etc. You're now an investor. How do you actually gauge the businesses that you're going to invest in? When you go in, do you have a set list of questions? How do you pick the things that you're going to play with or participate with?
It's a fascinating question because I guess everyone does it differently. Every investor. I've never read a CV. I've never read a business plan. That stuff's just wasted on me. I go in and I feel the company. I walk around the office. How clean's the office? How was I greeted when I came in? Did I get offered a cup of coffee or a bottle of water? When I meet the owner or shake his hand or her hand, I'll know within 5 minutes if I'm dealing with a company that's going to be successful or got a chance of being successful, or on the highway to hell and I need to get to the lift very, very quickly. And the things I'm looking for mainly are in the equity holders of the company, because at the end of the day, they're going to know their industry and business better than me. And I'm not there to teach them whatever it is they're doing. but I know what it takes to run a successful company. And I'm looking for them is a motivating individual, a work ethic in that individual, and a vision in that person, you know, an understanding of what they're trying to achieve here with this company. And, you know, someone who's really passionate that can articulate, this is what I'm trying to do. This is my 5-year plan. This is who we are as a company. This is why we started. If it feels right to you in that moment, out of all of the things I've learned in the business, that's probably the best metric I've come to learn by. Because if you're going to sit there and look at graphs, let me tell you, they all go up. I've never seen a cash flow forecast going down yet in all my years of owning businesses.
Well, firstly, that's spot on. And anybody can create a graph. You want a shape? You can make that shape.
Yeah, they all show me graphs that go up and they look very pretty, but they mean nothing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. At that early stage, there's as much a gut feel for the business as well as relevance. I mean, when we started that marketplace that I talked to you about earlier, yeah, we had three things: the dream, the scheme, and the team. So the dream is, this problem that they're looking to solve, is it real? Does it need solving? The scheme, how are they going to go about solving that problem? Does it have legs? And then thirdly is the team. Is this team relevant to addressing this problem? And can they solve it? And those are the three things that I would use myself when I was thinking about investing in businesses before we started building out Vested as well. That was the thing, but so much more learning since. But enough about me. Where's the future? Where's the future for Mark? I mean, you've invested in 7 businesses. You're a young guy, to all intents and purposes, to be as successful as you are. What's the next 10-year horizon? Is it that investment and learning further from that? But what's going back to what you were saying about what's that journey, what's that vision for you?
Well, one of my mentors, Grant Cardone, I was speaking with him around the UK. We were traveling around for 2 weeks speaking, and just before I got on his private jet to fly from Wales to Scotland, he stopped me and put his hand across my chest and he says, before you get on my private jet, you've got to make me one promise. He said, I know other entrepreneurs that are going to be super successful and I know you're one of them. But he said, you must promise me that when you find some success, you use that to help other people become successful, because it's all good to go and create success and make money and all of that stuff, but it's not worth it if you don't go and help people up the ladder with you. And it was such beautiful lasting advice on me, and I'm spending a lot of my time now, yes, investing in businesses, but mentoring, coaching, working with people, because when I go on Instagram, when I go on YouTube and see all of this stuff, 98% of the stuff I see about running a business is wrong. It is factually wrong, and it is people that are have an agenda with a course or something to sell you, that are telling you they have all the secrets and you can do it really quick. So I'm trying to fight the good fight by doing podcasts like this, working with people like yourself, to go and educate people in the right way, to say, listen, it's not easy. It is actually really difficult, but if you surround yourself and read the right stuff, listen to the right people, it's possible. And it's a great life, and it's great leading a business and creating something if you can do it. But, I've had a level of success, which is great, but I'm still as hungry as ever. And I think a true entrepreneur, a true business person, it doesn't matter how much money you've got in the bank or what car or house, you go to bed in. I do it for the game. I do it because I love to do it. And I think the day I retire will be the day that everybody's at my funeral, because I'm loving this journey.
Now, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, notionally, I retired a decade ago, but there's no notion of stopping making a contribution. Why would you? And that piece about sharing, I really do appreciate. You're a famous guy, you've got loads on, but you were willing to take the time to do this and share some of your knowledge and your wisdom. Really, really appreciate it. Just talk to honesty about what you're saying. But where do you see the future of business here? We've got so many changes hitting us. 2 years ago, who'd heard of ChatGPT? Today, it's everywhere. And it's not just ChatGPT. There's so many other AI tools out there. Where do you see their interface with business, the acceleration of learning for founders? What are your thoughts?
Ifty, I wish I knew, because it's a question that is puzzling me. I do know that AI is the biggest revolution that we've had since the internet. I think it's actually bigger. I think it's the most significant upgrade in our intelligence and in our technology that we've seen in my career. And I've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole with it, and there's an element to it. 50% of it intrigues me, excites me, and I can't wait to see where it goes. 50% of it scares the hell out of me because of the power and the uses that this technology has. But the good news and the bad news is it's not going anywhere. It's getting embedded in most softwares. It's getting embedded in most everyday life and technology that we already use. So it's learning it and embracing it, but I think it needs serious regulation, serious regulation, because I have spoken to and worked with some of the people behind the curtain at some of these big companies, and they scare me when they tell me we're only seeing sort of 5% of the capability at the moment. The other 95% is a serious bit of kit, and I think we need to go forward with caution. But I believe that most people genuinely are good. And I think that hopefully that means that businesses and schools, universities, colleges and countries use it for that purpose going forward. And to answer your question more directly, I think it's here to stay, and good entrepreneurs and business owners will learn it and use it. You know, it'd be like saying the internet wasn't going to be part of your business moving forward. There's no one who would say that now, and I think AI is definitely going to be the same.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think embracing it is critical. Being fearful of it is, and keeping it at arm's length, as it were, is just going to leave you at a massive disadvantage. And yet, those ethics, those principles in the evolution of AI have to be very rigorously tested and maintained as we go down that journey. I think you're absolutely right.
It's exciting, though. I mean, it's brilliant. But
we ourselves, we grew the business reasonably steadily in line with customer base, and then accelerated a little bit to just be able to go ahead of the curve. But since then, let's say about a year or so ago, we were, over the last 2 years, we've literally only gone from about 60, 65 to 70-ish employees. And yet the business has doubled, but the ability for the team to serve that broader business is because of the deployment of tools, building of processes as well, and understanding the game that we're in, but being able to deploy the tools that will help us serve our customers, because at the end of the day, if we don't serve, we shouldn't be rewarded. Some of these tools are just brilliant at helping us understand ourselves, whether it's from some of the recording tools and meeting summarizations through to video processing. It's fantastic.
Oh, some of the stuff I'm seeing, so cool.
Of caution.
Yeah, and let me ask you, where do you see it going? Where do you see the sort of next few years runway for AI?
I think it's just unbelievable where we could get to. I mean, this is going to sound a little bit dystopian, and I don't intend it to be, but I think we're potentially living in the last but one generation of pure humans. I mean, this is not just my hypothesis; it's been built off various books that I've read, including things like *Sapiens* and *Life 3.0*. But the notion and the potential of human augmentation with silicon, even very soon.
Yeah. I can't disagree, even if you go on.
Be there, and that will just accelerate. I mean, it's like expecting you to compete with me in the Beaujolais run. I've got a mobile phone, I've got an Apple, and you have nothing. It's a win.
It's a no-brainer, and we're almost cyborgs as it is. I mean, if you go anywhere, you look at anyone, they are carrying one of these and pretty much looking. We have instant access to information constantly. I'm covered in. If Apple brought out, God knows, I'd buy it. I mean, I'd just buy anything off them at this point. I'm covered in Apple from head to toe. If they say there's something that they're going to put in my brain, I'm the wrong guy, because I've bought everything they've brought out so far.
Yeah, and I think it's almost inevitable. And as you say, it's already there with these, but it's going to just get further.
It's going to get closer and closer and closer. It's sort of happening, sort of 1% a day without you sort of realizing, until it's going to reach a point. And I just think, as long as there's some responsibility there and whatever, because access to information is fantastic. It helps us in everyday life, but it's also helpful to get away from information sometimes as well. I think particularly with mental health that we're seeing in young people and everyone, it's that constant access to information, good and bad, that I think is a huge issue for everyone these days. I mean, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I check my emails and I think to myself, what on earth are you doing? You've just got up to go to the bathroom or roll over and you're checking your email.
Now, one of the brilliant podcasts that I did was with Unplugged, the founder of Unplugged, and that's literally creating these little retreats, like not a shed, but a little cabin that you can just escape to, no digital connection. It's just a fantastic business proposition. I think we will need more and more of that, maybe even if it's just taking the chip out or whatever it is.
Honestly, it's health. Sometimes, human beings are meant to get outside, get in the water, sunlight, all of these things, because we do less and less of it now. Than we're not designed for thousands of years to be sat in with all of this kit all day. And I think we're starting to see the results of some of that. So it's just mixing it appropriately.
I mean, spot on. So you mentioned about not retiring until you're in that box, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah.
So where do you see the place before that from your perspective? Are you still an entrepreneurial supporter, or are you just recurring the entrepreneurial journey yourself and going through that pain and journey, or do you feel that pain, I don't need it again?
Every time I do it, I promise myself I'll never do it again. And then I find myself, I started another business last year, and it's in airline training, in pilot training, and it's just like, oh my God, here we go again, and it's all the same drama and all the same issues. But I'm a bit wiser. I'm a bit more wise and know the details this time. But I don't feel like I work. It's nearly 8 o'clock here at night, on a Friday night. I guess on a Friday night, other people are out doing all sorts of stuff. I'm doing podcasts talking about business in the morning of the UK because I love this stuff. I enjoy board meetings. I enjoy podcasts. I enjoy creating it. So if it ever starts to feel like work, I might reassess it, but I'm just going to keep doing this. And while I'm enjoying it this much, it pays well, I enjoy it, and it's fantastic. And for me, now I'm on a buy and build journey. I'm looking at different industries and going into established businesses that are maybe capped out at $2 or $3 million or pounds turnover, buying them and scaling them up. So I'm looking for industries and businesses where there's potential to come in as a major shareholder, add value, scale it up and exit it. It's, a buy and build special, Mark Wright style.
Excellent. Sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to keeping in touch and watching the journey going forward. But one last question for you, Mark. So aside from all the work and the stuff around business, what's life outside of that for you? And what would you find as the non-business related aspiration or goal?
Well, this year I'm getting married in December. And trust me, thank you. When you see a few invoices from them, working becomes super important again from the wedding venue. But I've got a young son. I've got a 1-year-old son, and my health is super important to me. There was a time where I spent too much time working and eating and drinking, and focused on business and forgot about I need to be around to spend the money I'm making here. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in that box pretty darn early. So I'm now spending a lot more time making sure that the things that go into my body and the time I give my health is equally important to the time I spend in the business, because I learned some lessons the hard way there. And so now I spend equal amount of time, looking at my diet, going to the gym, working with trainers, all of that stuff, because your financial health is just as important as your physical health, if not more on your physical health side and your mental health. So I've spent a lot of time balancing that equilibrium now. And again, it's all experience. I can't get away with eating 3 McDonald's a week anymore like I could when I was 20. We used to have in the office, we used to stay and work till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning eating chocolates and drinking Red Bull with enough sugar to keep us working through the night. Now, that leads to a pretty interesting place after doing that for a few years. So, lessons learned.
No, I think spot on. I mean, that thing about having loads of money and no time to enjoy it is a founder's curse.
Honestly.
People will because I guess they're so vested. I guess there's that ability to balance that you need to learn. I think that's great wisdom to end on. Thank you again, Mark, so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Foundermetrics. Remember, the biggest of ambitions are within reach when you leverage the right metrics and strategies. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and never miss out on any future ones. And don't forget to visit us on www.vested.com for additional resources, articles, and exclusive content. Join our growing community of entrepreneurs and founders by following us on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, and Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts and insights. Together, let's continue to unlock and share the metrics of success and create a brighter future.